According to the Mahamangala Sutta, when a deity asks what the real bliss is, Buddha uttered a stanza saying, Asevanacha balanam panditanancha sevana pujacha pujaniyanam etam mangalam uttamam. Asevanacha balanam. Don't associate fools. Panditanancha sevana. Associate the wise. Pujacha pujaniyana. Make offerings to those who deserve offerings. Those who deserve offerings. The respected people. The priests, monks, elders, parents, teachers, and so on. This superficial meaning, the expressive meaning, is applicable to the ordinary people to lead a blissful day-to-day life. Because associating fools can bring a lot of problems. But associating wise people will be beneficial, will be useful. They don't bring problems, they may help you to solve your own problems. Asevanacha balanam panditanancha sevana pujacha pujaniyana. Respecting the elders who deserve respect with offerings brings about a wholesome mind. You are pleased and they are pleased. And that is a good deed. There is a wholesome deed. With their blessings, blessings of the honorable, the holy, monks and priests, saints, elders, teachers, parents, etc. And with their blessing, you can make your life blissful, and that superficial meaning is meaningful in the day-to-day life. But with an implied meaning, not with a direct meaning, with a secondary meaning, Buddha explained in a poetical language how one can attain the supreme bliss of Nirvana by taking this first step in the first trance. To attain the bliss of Nirvana, first we had to develop our mind in trances. The first trance is called Patamajjhana. It is that Patamajjhana Buddha indirectly explained in this. Because we can't believe the Buddha asking us not to associate fools and associate only the wise, because he himself for 45 years after his enlightenment associated lot of fools and turned them into wise people, enlightened people. Fools means whose wisdom was not matured, but he opened up the wisdom. We too can open our wisdom by the correct association of sense objects. Sevana means association. We associate different objects in the world through our sense organ, the 5 external sense organs called eye, ear, nose, skin, etc., and the inner sense organ called the mind. Because the mind associates different ideas. Any association by any senses can be foolish if you associate them with greed, hatred, and ignorance through illusion. That is called lobha, dosa, moha in the Dhamma. But the association can turn to be wise if you associate these objects, sense objects, without greed, hatred, and ignorance. Because then our association of different sense objects will not hurt our mind. We are foolish if you get our mind hurt by the sense object that we associate. We are very wise if we can associate things without being hurt. That is, in taking things as they are. That is the wise attitude. Yatha bhuta jnana dasana, taking things as they are. And be satisfied and be content with what we get from it, get from them. Yatha called Yatha labha santutti. And this state of affairs is revealed in the description of the first trance called Patamajjhana. The Buddha's words are regarding the Patamajjhana: Vivicceva kame, vivicceva akusale dhamme, savitakkam savicharam, vivekajam pītusukam, Patamajjhanam uppajjati. Vivicceva kame means free from mental magnetism leading to attachment and resentment. Then what happens? Vivicca akusale dhamme, the mind is free from the akusala, unwholesomeness. Then what happens? Vivicca akusale dhamme savitakka. We can grasp any sense objects into the mind. That means become aware of them. But that awareness can be continued, savichara, without using attraction, repulsion, and ignorance. Attraction means lobha, repulsion means dvesha. That leads to greed and hatred. In such a state of mind, there arises a calm, peaceful state, vivekajam. The restless mind start resting, take a rest without being activated. Mind get activated by our reactions. Our reactions to sense objects are manifested as our thoughts. We think of things that we like or that we dislike, and think that we can fully comprehend, fully consume. When we are confused by our ignorance of things, we start thinking. But when the mind is free from those bad elements, unwholesome elements of lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, and illusion, the mind becomes peaceful. The mind becomes restful. The mind starts resting. Because no thoughts, no thinking. The mind is at rest. Only awareness is there. The mind has two activities. One is sensation, one is thinking of what is sensed. Sensation is automatic, indeliberate. It happens naturally. Thinking, deliberately. The selves come in. In meditation, in the first trance, the mind does not think of sensations. Then mind is at rest, vivekajam, and that restfulness in the mind causes some kind of priti, some kind of happiness, some kind of delight. The mind is delighted automatically, priti, by being free from tension, free from restlessness. And when it continues, the priti continues, turns into sukha, continuation of the delightful state of mind, the pleasant state of mind. And it is this status, patamajjanam upasampadya virati. This is what happened in the first trance. Being aware of things without being attached to them, without being resentful to them, and accepting them as they are. And that is the first basis of reaching the sublime state, the most sublime state, the supreme bliss of mind called nirvana. It is this first step that Buddha advised his disciple for the first 20 years of his life after enlightenment. He said, this is the advice of all Buddhas, all enlightened ones, to their disciples. What is the advice of all Buddhas? Sabba papasa karanam, kusalasya upasampada, sachitta pariyodapanam, etam buddhana sasana. Sabba papasa karana, not doing anything unwholesome. Kusalasya upasampada, then comes in the wholesomeness of the mind. Akusala means whatever then brings unpleasantness to the mind. When unpleasantness of the mind is removed, but not by not using greed, hatred and ignorance, then the mind becomes pleasant and peaceful. And that state is called kusala, kusala supasampada. Then sachitta pariyodapanan, gradually we can purify the mind, purify the latent tendencies of the mind, tendencies of bad actions, unwholesome actions in the past. Gradually we can purify the mind, purification of the mind. Pita sukam upasampadya vijati. It is then the mind becomes very pleasant. Etam buddhana sasana. This is the sasana means advice of all Buddhas, all enlightened ones. Therefore, if you take the implied meaning of the first stanza uttered by the Buddha in the Mahamangala Sutta, we can lead a wholesome life free from unwholesome, a blissful life. That is the beginning of the bliss, ending in the supreme bliss of nirvana. Supreme bliss means perfection of the bliss. In the first trance, the mind can be blissful as long as we are in the trance, but the trance can get broken at any moment. Once you get enlightened, that peaceful state of mind is established. It becomes permanent. It can never be destroyed. It can never be disturbed. That is why it is said the Arahants have a mind undisturbed by worldly vicissitudes. What happens in the world, the things outside the world. Puttasa lokada me chittan yasana kampati. Their mind is not disturbed. Therefore, but the first trance, the first shows, the first step towards that enlightenment into the supreme bliss of mind by being not disturbed, but by what our sense organs grasp. And when we take things as they are and live in a peaceful mind, we can be said to be the real Buddhists heading toward the supreme bliss of Nirvana.